All right, well, welcome everybody to our May 5th Broadband Committee meeting. And number of items on the agenda today. The first one is to approve the minutes of the April 21st meeting, and that will be the Wiscasset people here, since it's our town committee. Is there a motion to approve the minutes that Evan said?
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor? So approved. Okay, now we can get on with progress with neighboring towns. Since you are the neighboring town, do you guys want to, is there anything to report?
I talked to the town administrator in Dresden, and I asked him if we could use their phone number to collect information. They would answer the phone. He said yes. And I thought about, I'm pretty sure our town should have a database of everybody in the town, right?
Should have.
So then we could ask them if they could add a flag to the database and say if this person called in. Because I'm sure that the people at the counter, and they answer the phone and say, oh, so and so called in. And then if we had all those flags, then we could dump out either into a computer file or to a piece of paper, then we have names and addresses and all that kind of stuff.
And they would know to call in because your paper is advertising things about the committee and.
Well, first, yeah, the Dresden Communicator, the deadline for submissions is May 20th. And as soon as Julie's going to be the final.
Well, yeah, John and I sort of collaborated on coming up with a little blurb to go in the communicator, really not telling them too much, except just letting them know this is an issue and that it's up, and add to it every month, and you know, try and get people aware that there's something going on and that it could get advantageous.
Yeah, exactly.
And also stimulate a buzz aside from the communicator.
Yeah.
In our small community, a lot of people do actually read, but also kind of a cardstock item that just says, you know, create the buzz around broadband with a little bit of information and consistency with call this number, and we'll channel everything through the town office. But we have Memorial Day service at Palmboro Courthouse. We have, you know, ice cream trucks, Dres, Texas, it used to be called recycling center, Gorenson's farm. We put these little just cardstock things, just to try to get interest going. Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Make it so it's unstoppable.
Are you guys planning to do any kind of presentation to the select board or to the town?
I intend to be honest,
Oh, okay, that's all right. I forgot that, yeah.
but also knowing
That helps. We need
we
an
probably should
advocate on
do
the
that. I
side.
know they support it, but we should plan on doing an update. Get it.
Well, I think
Well,
once
we have a town meeting coming up in June.
in June, yeah, hopefully there'll be more to report on by then, because hopefully we'll have an RFP out by the end of this month for the planning work, and then, or be halfway through to the digital equity plan, so there'll be more to talk about for sure.
Yeah, I took the two forms for the $7,000 and the $1,000 that the town is committing to. And I'm not even sure what they're for, but I took them into Daniel, and he was very glad to see that, especially since it was, I think, about $500 more than we got.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't make it to the select board that evening, but I'm planning to go to the one next week, and you know, just talk to them and let them know that we're moving forward with that. And
Cool, I can show up to that too.
good.
I was speaking to a fellow, Dave Probert, the other day. He said there's a large presence of residents on Facebook. So we should
There is
see if we can connect to that.
become quite a,
Hotbed, if nothing else.
quite a jam.
Come on
Well,
there.
we intend to exercise it for.
And I think the town website looks kind of underutilized. And I think Daniel Swain is the administrator for the website. He said he was going through some Weebly or something was the package, the software package that he was using to manage the website. We could get something on there.
That all sounds good. Are you expanding your committee as well, or?
We'd like to.
Did
But-
anybody get a hold of you? Because Amanda had somebody get a hold of her and then
Really?
said they get a hold of you, but didn't get a name.
Yeah, I know a few people up there. but,
I'll reach back out to her.
I mean, you obviously know your town. But I was wondering about Rich Goldman and his wife, whether they would get involved with something like this.
They're, no,
No,
that folks don't.
yeah.
But I'm sure I'm pretty sure.
Who's the other people in there? Peter and Mary, they live near.
Yeah, Peter
Walsh.
and Mary Walsh are just checking out of everything at this point.
Well, so much for my ideas.
No, those are good ideas. I mean, I'm sure Peter will still, talk to Buzz about it. We just need to get.
Especially on the healthcare front, I mean, in his past positions, you would think that, and seniors, that they would at least be interested in what the potential is for telehealth.
Yeah, and I know that Linda Hermans is probably still out of town, husband for a while. But when I get back, I definitely approach them. And I guess I could go knock on Peter and Mary's door as well.
Yeah, because even if people don't have time to come to a meeting, they might have time enough to, whatever, go talk to 20 people in a day or a weekend or what have you. So, the other update I have is that Dan in Dresden sent the planning application to the state. Hopefully, that might be reviewed and decided on today, we might know. So I think on the 5th, they said they're going to review that. Otherwise, it'll probably be another month, but we'll see. And then Woolwich approved their application and sent that along too. So that's the startup grant for $5,000. I think Daniel might have thought it was for $7,500, but I believe it's only for $5,000.
Right.
But if we need to get more money for people, we'll work on that when the time comes.
That's good news, yeah, especially if we can coordinate together and move this forward, so good work. Anything else that we should talk about right now, or?
What, the two contracts that Wiscasset's got that Dresden's, coming in on, I don't understand what they're for, their research into.
Well, we have to, one is for infrastructure, how to build out the infrastructure and the system. And that, we had some work already done in Wiscasset in 2019, when we were part of you were too, the seven town study. And Axiom Technologies did that study, and they need to update it.
Okay.
And also add some other elements to it. It might be useful.
I'm
if you
trying to
looked
print,
at-
I'm trying to print off the Southport one.
Yeah,
so
that's the
people
one I
can get
was
a look at
thinking
it.
that you might want to look at, because Axiom did theirs, and originally I thought, look, it's boilerplate for the most part. There's only a piece of it that is to our town. But Mark Willett, who runs that operation, is somebody I've known for years. He said, yeah, it's true, but it's also my intellectual property. And it serves a purpose of being on the website for the town to say, this is our plan, here it is. And I became convinced that was a good idea, even though much of it is replicated from other towns. He's done something similar for Rockport, and for the Mid-Coast Internet Coalition.
So Axiom will give us the plan of what we
Yeah,
need
how,
to do.
how you do it. Now, we
We
have to
have
put it out
almost-
to bid.
Probably a pretty close carbon copy right now of the one that Southport did, so I'll
Okay.
have that in just a second, you guys can pass it around, check it all
It has to go out to bid here in Wisconsin, because anything over 2,500 has to go out to bid. So that's the major infrastructure one. That's the most important.
Okay.
And then there's the digital equity plan with Susan Corbett. Susan Corbett used to own, she started Axiom Technologies up in Machias because there was nothing. And she's been right on the front line of digital equity. And now has this National Digital Equity Center, which is headquartered here in Wisconsin.
up. We have to say it every time.
Every time. But she's well, I mean, she's a superstar in the state as well as national. So she also has boilerplate stuff. Hi. how are you? Into the thick of it, Larry. Again, a lot of that plan, did we share the plan that we have from both of them?
Yeah, I think that's what.
Yeah.
Jerry's talking
A
about.
lot of it is getting us to do the work. It's a lot of emphasis on volunteerism to set up collaborations around the town, whether it's with the senior center or the library. Richard Blitz, who came last time, as chair of the library. And these become potential hubs for teaching digital literacy, particularly the people that don't have devices, where they can't just do it online. Susan runs an operation where she's doing all kinds of classes, but they're all online. So it also becomes a pipeline to what she's doing, and truthfully, to being on top of where the funding sources are for this, to maintain it.
So would that, I was thinking of the broadband boot camp.
Yeah.
The 6 of those things, could trying to get some people in town interested in going to the library and using their equipment to get that information.
Yeah, I have not done the boot camp. Evan sat in on it. I was around on all the discussions of the boot camp when Western Maine initiated it. And I guess now Sunrise does it in Washington County. But that's a very good way of people to learn about broadband. It's complicated, and it's a good way to introduce people. And they seem to have it down pat. We wouldn't want to.
That's what that looks like.
You went to the boot camp, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you
did
go all-
At least
the
no,
first
just the
3.
first 4, I think.
And it was really good. So, right.
Yeah, definitely was pretty comprehensive.
Yeah.
I mean, we probably recommend that as we do our outreach in Wisconsin, that, you might want to do this and get a better idea what we're talking about.
So the schools and the libraries are the ones that are connected.
Right now.
We can use the library as an educational vehicle. We couldn't use the school as an
Oh,
educational.
yeah, you could. I mean, Susan's recommending the school could be an educational vehicle as well, if they're willing to do it and set up for it. Now, they have their own outreach on digital equity, because during the pandemic, they had to figure out how to connect people, and they seem to be on top of where the subsidies are to help people.
Okay.
But that's only for the schools, and they're not doing it more broadly in town. And it would be good if we had a school representative on this committee, but
They change hands so quickly, it's hard to.
yeah. But if they're not actually on the committee, and we can work with people in subgroups or subcommittees, whatever. So that's what the digital equity is. We got her down to $24.99 on her contract, so it didn't have to go out to bid.
Well, and the extra,
And if we all come in together, we get
it'll be,
discounts.
if all 3 towns do it at once, it'll be $1,500 per town. So it'll just be all even.
So what do we have to do within our town to get Dresden on board with this?
Probably next meeting, we can talk about it, because Dresden's got a couple different rules than Wisconsin does, so the selectmen might be able to just greenlight that 1,500 immediately. And then we'll just have to do the same thing with Woolwich at their next meeting in another week and a half, and then that could happen pretty quickly,
Okay.
ideally.
And the math is right for 300 apiece. Anyway, you've done that.
That's
I haven't
right.
paid attention.
That's awesome. Make sure again, but yeah.
It's less than what you would pay on your own, let's put it that.
We can start with those too. So you know that.
Yeah,
that's
this,
what they
this will
greenlit.
be used for the first, 7,500.
Might as well get used well, right? Before we get to the draft questionnaire, we had a request, yeah, are we done with all of, well,
Yep.
we had a request from Seth Hall in Waldeboro, who I guess came on our meeting late. I had to leave by the time he was getting on. He is also running for select board and has been a fan of a municipal utility model or a regional utility for broadband for quite a while. He is hosting a meeting in Waldeboro next Thursday at 6 and would love representation from this group. And I think, Evan, you're going to go.
Yeah, I plan on going.
I'm waiting for my refrigerator to be delivered. But if it's not bad, I'm going tense. But so Evan wants to go. I don't know if anybody else wants to attend.
When is it?
It's next Thursday at 6
In Waldeboro,
in Waldeboro.
downtown.
I'm going up country for a week.
Yeah.
A chumming situation.
Yeah, we are. Got it.
Uh,
So if you want to go, you know, you can either just show up or let Evan know, I guess.
Yeah.
And we can get deeper into what a utility looks like. I did send some information on it with the slides that this guy in Damascus did for Damascus. They did not want to go that direction. Personally, I think it's the direction to go, but it's probably the heaviest sell to go that direction. But we can get into that as we're doing the plan, the infrastructure plan. Are you all familiar with what I'm talking about? It's basically the town owns the internet. It works with private developers or private internet service providers to actually build it and to operate it. It doesn't operate it. So it's technically a public-private partnership to have it happen. The benefit is that public money goes to a publicly owned utility. It really is a utility. And it does not go into a private company. And once you pay off the debt involved with getting this network going, you actually have an income source. And other towns have used the income over time to help subsidize things, whether it's other things in town, or maybe you want to keep providing affordable internet to people that can't afford it. So it becomes a source of revenue, assuming everything goes the way it's supposed to go. So that's a model that's popular, particularly in rural Maine, where it's very small and people have just said we have to have this, and people are going for it. And a lot of the recent funding up at the state has been these little systems, these municipal owned systems. That's what Southport has. They put that in. So we can come back to that. It's going to be a huge discussion, but that's what his meeting is about. He wants to do it for all of Lincoln County.
Doesn't that typically give you a lower cost per customer?
Yeah, it should give you a lower
It's
cost.
just an outlay at the beginning that you buy.
Yeah. It's just the difficult part is organizing so many towns together and who's gonna put in what bond and that type of thing. So that's
And,
where,
and getting the town on board.
that's where it gets more complicated. But
The education in the town to be able to do that is huge. So it's huge on any level, but it's even bigger if you're trying to do that model. But anyway, take a look at the slides. This guy didn't really know, and he's a smart guy, but he didn't really have a background in this and did some research and put together a really interesting slideshow. So,
Did we get sent these slides in an email?
that's on the drive that I,
yeah, I thought I attached it to the notes.
yeah.
I looked drive thing that you sent.
The other article I attached was really interesting about Hamden near Bangor and Leeds, where they both wanted to do municipal broadband. And Spectrum came in and fought both of them. And Leeds overcame it at a town meeting and voted for their own system. Hamden did not. And there are some lessons in there from what they did differently, and which, you know, you might want to look at. Okay, so questions, comments, thoughts? So after I found my refrigerator, I could focus on my on the draft. And I'm going to go from my draft, because Evan didn't include my comments on it, but Marty and maybe others of you, Richard, were pushing on the last meeting, like, this is too long. We want it shorter. Richard wanted a postcard. Why do you need it this long? Don't have a question unless you know why you're going to use the information, which is usually the case in survey. That's the way it's constructed. So Marty, I tried to respond to that request or comment. But in the one I did with my notes on it, I can go through this and say why I thought each one is important. The first one, we want to know the quality of service at a specific address. This is what is your address or name of your road. And your experience in Damascata was if they're not comfortable with the actual address, you could put down the road. So that's what the purpose of that question is.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
You also have an introduction.
Yeah, and I had the introduction, that's right, I forgot. I was looking at the thing he printed out. Yeah, we should talk about the introduction. It can be bigger than this, it can be more complicated, it can be worded differently, feedback on the introduction. We'd welcome you guys, your feedback. You might want to do your own introduction.
Yeah, because we could make it a full or almost a full page, because this is going to fit perfectly on front and back of this, so it could just be another page that people can see
Yeah,
for an
that's
intro.
okay,
Or a
that's
top
fine.
sheet,
So we could do more. I was trying to make it simple. Leeds did something like this. Theirs was a little bit more complicated. They may have already done more education in the town. I don't know. So I picked out from Leeds and what we already had, what I thought might be enough information, but certainly welcome to comments or changes to it. I think the last paragraph came from Leeds.
Yeah, I was wondering if we need number 6.
What's that?
She's just talking, she's
Oh, I'm
just
talking about
talking
the
about the
introduction at
intro.
the moment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but we could probably just, if we're do a full top sheet or like a whatever, an info sheet, just include kind of a basic description of what a fiber to the home network will get you, and that's symmetrical service, so the same upload and download, that doesn't slow down, and just a description of fiber.
Well, oh, that's, in
That could
the
be,
survey.
that could be included in this, in the intro paragraph, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not bad for people that don't have any clue what we're
Yeah.
talking about. It's a good idea.
Then you can give a quick, this town has done this model, this town has done this model, those types of things.
You think that they'll get lost before they actually get to the survey if we do that?
I think when you're handing out these surveys, you just say, hey, here's an information sheet, keep this, and then also can you do this survey?
So
Everything
separate
we
it
take.
so they don't get
Yeah.
lost.
That's what I would,
Yeah.
that's what I would do.
Okay.
Here's what we're doing, fold that up, put it in your pocket, read it later. ask any questions you might have now, that type of thing.
Okay. We're also gonna send it by mail, but they can sort that out too. Not by mail, I mean by internet or
Yep.
whatever way. we
Yep.
do it. So, I mean, if people want to mark it up, besides what Evan is going to work on this, I'm gonna put that down. Evan working on intro. We can start going down the list. We went over some of this last time. We simplified, we wanted to know how they're responding to get a sense of how they're using broadband. So this question of a number of them that we did discard from the last survey seemed to be the simplest way to get an idea of how people are using broadband. And any thoughts about this one?
Number 2, you mean?
Yeah,
Yep, looks fine to me. I don't know.
we wanted to know whether they have internet address at where they live.
You skipped to number 5, I changed combined 2 questions, so what type of internet service you have, and then attach the companies next to it, because a lot of times people know who they send the bill to, but they don't know what type of internet they have, or they know what type of internet they have, and they can't remember what name Consolidated or Spectrum has, because they've changed the name 6 times in 15 years, and they don't even know.
So how would you do it by cable? You just say Charter
Right here.
Spectrum? Oh, you already got it in
Yeah, it's
there.
right there.
Okay,
So I combine the 2, so it's just less confusion and might help people that don't know what the heck, who they might know who they pay or whatever.
do you,
The other thing to think about is combining 2 and
2 and
11,
11.
yep, we can do that too.
2 and 11?
Yeah,
Perfect, yeah, because I added the student question back in there because I thought that was important.
Yeah, this
Yep,
is- where was-
perfect.
Where was the student question?
It's on here, throw this away,
Where is it?
back number 11.
Okay,
So I added that.
okay,
back
so
in.
where do you want to put it?
Right at-
Closer or no?
Right at the number 2, just add that as another checkbox, that's a,
Okay.
that a
That's a good
household
one.
can add.
Okay. So then we went on to say, we skipped to number 5, but number 4, all the reasons they may not
Yep.
want to use it. And you didn't put in here in this revised one to skip to question 4.
Yeah, just because that, when I'm designing it online, this is primarily just gonna be for online people, so someone, we'll have to figure out how to type it up that way, but there's no way I'm gonna be able to do
Okay,
it
wait,
online.
what,
Or it
what,
won't, and it won't make sense online, so it'll be something we'll have to, when I type it up, I'll have
okay,
to.
the idea is that if you do not have internet, then the other questions that are coming after this don't apply to you. So you should skip to the question, which is number 9, which is, are you interested in free training classes? So
That's
Evan's
number
gonna
9.
take care of that, so that we don't have a problem when we hand out a hard copy. The idea of the monthly cost, does it help us even if they don't unbundle it?
Yeah, I think it's important.
See, some of this we're kind of preparing also for when we have to sell it. And we're gonna talk to them about what a company, what the options are and what we think a service would cost, but if we go with a private provider or if the town owns it, to be able to give what Larry is looking for, which is how much is it gonna cost me? And it also is helpful to know what are they paying now? I know for me, it's always a pain to go back and figure out what I'm unbundling it because they don't price it that way on the bill. So you literally, I had a call a number of times and most people won't do that. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I don't think most people do it. I've been delaying doing mine for a couple of months. I
Yeah.
finally did it, so no.
I know, well, I've let mine go. I'm one of the people that still has to do all the things, just not pay Spectrum all the money I pay Spectrum. That's the irony of it. So you think to keep it in we'll use the information because Marty has that standard. We
Now,
don't
I was wondering whether or not to get, I'd like to see us have people complete it while we're there. So if we had like this question here, and then what you see, they don't know this speed while we're kind of full out.
Right, and that's why when I printed this one off, it got cut off, but it's just as well that it got cut off because it's not relevant to somebody that has the piece of
So
paper.
maybe we could have a page that has the questions that they could answer now, and then take this home and
Yeah,
send it in to us or something.
well, the idea is to get people just to first try and get them to do it online, but if it's somebody that's just like, they're not gonna do this, then to be like, hey, can I ask you the questions, and then we can put it later, but
So we handed out about 100
yeah.
things at the election, and I don't think we got too many responses.
Got a few.
The speed, you know,
Yeah.
we handed out at the election.
Did you guys come back? I don't even remember.
Yeah, there was a few responses, but yeah, it's hard to.
We handed out about 100 of those. We had 100 topics.
Yeah, well, it's a way of engaging people also for them to pay more attention to what their students are.
So what if we had the introduction and the questions? Take this home and read it. And then the questions, fill it out now, because if we look, let's say, go to the senior center.
Yep,
Fill it out.
Yeah, that's
take it,
perfect,
we got the
exactly.
results.
Yep.
Go to the American Legion, go to the garden club, go to the chamber.
You're helping me make my list that comes after this
We'll
discussion.
have more responses than the one that the town got, mailing out 1,000.
yeah, we'll do just as, we'll do just as well, putting it online and then just pushing it online, and then when we go to those different events, that's where you get the people that are harder and harder to get.
Okay, so let's see, we did monthly cost. Then we're asking, are you satisfied? Because they're satisfied. They may not be a good candidate for wanting to do a different product. And why not? And you reduced my list on that. Why not? Didn't you? Looks like
Yeah.
you did. What did you take out?
Let's see, I was looking at it and there's a couple answers that I thought were.
Too slow, unreliable, price keeps going up.
It was the one about inadequate when multiple users are on at once, so that just means too slow. At the end of the day.
All right,
Too slow for one or too slow for two.
Spectrum just sent out. So they've up their speed.
Yeah.
right. They're trying to
Yeah.
compete.
So they know it's coming.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, for sure. Trying to hang
And
on.
it's always,
Consolidated is actually.
and it's
putting
always an
5
up to.
million.
That's the thing, is it's always up to. We cannot guarantee anything.
So wait a minute, you took out one that,
So you had too slow, unreliable, inadequate when multiple users are on at once,
Yeah.
prices keep going up.
and why too expensive to pay for better service? Why did you take that?
I think we've. All right, put it back in there.
Could you also put next to it, if not, why not? Could check one or more.
Yeah. that's
Yep,
what we should do
checkboxes
that.
are, checkboxes are one or more.
Yeah, but they know.
I'll put a check all
Yeah,
that apply.
please, yeah, please check. Good
Check all
catch.
that apply.
And then we jump to, there are no more on that, those are good points. Are you interested in free training classes or how to better use the internet and devices? And we wanted to point out these classes are also available if you do not have internet, and do not have an internet device. And that assumes that we put in a digital equity plan. Because right now they're not available unless we have. people to help do that. One thing about the digital equity plan, it's very highly dependent on getting volunteers to do it unless somebody's got lots of money to pay people. And that is one of the areas where I'm really concerned about whether we're going to be able to get the necessary volunteers. So we asked which services are they most interested in, please check those. You will have nice little boxes that people can check.
We just crossed off that one, 11. And then I figured with 12 and 13, I can reword it on here so we can put comments and questions, same box. And then I also put in a note, add your email or phone number, and we can get back to you. So then we'll have a list of people that are filling it out that are interested, that have more questions, etc.
So I was wondering if you could put 6, 12, and 13 on that cover, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry, 6, 12, and 13.
13 with the introduction that you hand out to people.
Yeah.
And if they want to get back to you, they can get back to you.
I don't know, I think it may flow more. It fits on 2 pages like this, the way it does now. I think it's not a bad thing after they've thought a little bit about the survey questions, whether we follow it on the same page. But you're saying that they may not want to share this stuff while they're talking to you.
Yeah, like, let's say you have a presentation and hands these out, people can fill out. And he's gonna ask a question anyway. You have any questions, let me know. But if it was on a separate page with the explanation of what we're doing, they could come back later and send that in. With what else they want to
Yeah.
share, you know.
I was also
They
thinking
think it's
whether-
something after leaving the meeting.
I was also thinking whether the town there could be a email thread to the town or a phone. It would be better if it were an
Like a
email.
separate committee.
Yeah, separate committee, email that it could go right to that.
Yeah, just have to ask Dennis what the rules are, because it'll be public info. And they get real gun shy about all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll have to ask him how to
We
set
could
that
do
up.
it that way. But you're basically saying they're just not going to do this right there on the spot, and or we could do it both.
Or that's going to be presented. He's going to be presenting it to the committee and he's going to ask the questions. You can answer them then, or take it home and send that back in.
So give multiple options on how to get the feedback.
And
Yeah,
if there's
makes
lots
sense.
of questions, then I can answer right then and there.
So we can,
I don't know, to me, it's just like, they're either gonna do it or they're not, so it's just like,
I think if you hand it out on the media,
yeah,
we could put it in both places. You
Yeah.
know, just they take it home and if they have some more idea, they know where to
yeah,
send
we
it.
can do both.
I would put it in both places. So we didn't have a thank you at the bottom. You don't put thank yous at the bottom.
When you do it online, it's not, this is just, the fact that you can even do this easily, it's just helpful, but adding little things like that, it makes it much more difficult to put it together on the internet,
So are we gonna set up
but I can't do it.
3 different of these?
Yeah, I just
things?
talked to Mary Ellen and she's gonna set me up with the county's Survey Monkey account that they have for the planning commission, so I can make a separate one for Dresden and Chambliss-Cassett, so.
And if you want yours different in any way.
Yep.
You could certainly do it.
Yep, if you guys want.
I'm wondering if there's an advantage in having the communities know that we're working on this together.
Yep,
And so, you know, having it be the Wiscasset, Dresden, and Woolwich Broadband Committee might just be better than.
Yep.
Than individual. I know the people I've talked to, when I say that we're going and doing this in conjunction with the other 2 towns, they seem a little bit reassured. It's not just us dangling down the road by ourselves.
That's helpful.
Yeah, I just don't know if, if one town may have a special thing you want to know.
But yeah, I can definitely put that part on there.
To your,
But, at this point, we don't know what we want to know.
yeah, yeah.
Sure.
Oh, sure, I mean, this serves.
So, yeah.
as the beginning.
If you guys want to take this as a base, and then if you come up with anything else, I'm just gonna make 3 of the same ones, and then we'll throw in anything extra, whatever.
Okay.
If you use the library, anything like that, whatever.
Where are these surveys located?
It's gonna be on surveymonkey.com, so then each survey for each town will have an individual link. So what we'll do is we'll paste it on Facebook, we'll paste it on the website, all that stuff, and then when we make a sheet, like a flyer to put in the doorway at the gas station, whatever it is, we'll put the whole link on there, and then we'll also put a QR code. Not that everybody uses those, but it's just another trigger in your brain to be like, oh, I can just take a picture, open this, I don't have to
I don't know this.
type in the thing. I'm used to prostituting, I understand that. So, that's, yeah, and then we'll just, everybody can paper each town and just any place where there's a bulletin board, all that stuff. And then people, just another, like you guys were talking about earlier, just another trigger in your mind, be like, oh yeah, something's going on. Keep reading about this, keep seeing it, whatever. Because no matter how much, the other side of it, it's like, no matter how much PR and advertising we do, there's gonna be 10–20% of people like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. What do you mean? They don't know anything, regardless of how many times you even knock on their door and talk to them face to face.
So if I go to surveymonkey.com, well, can I see?
Yep, so, yes, I'll send you I'll make the one that I've made for this, it's a sample. So what I'll do is I'll send you the link and it will be live just as if it was going. So I'll email to the whole committee.
How about if we had, at the end, at the beginning, you have an email address, if you want to include.
Yep, that's what
We
I
have
put,
information we can,
yeah, that's what I put on number 13 here. If you have any questions, then, and then put them in there, and then if you want us to get back to you at your email or phone number. On 13.
So on 13,
On 13,
all 3 towns have broadband.
yep,
So you just call the town, so
yep,
this gas is was.
Yep.
And then future proof.
And you can take it out if you want.
Affordable.
yep, I agree with you.
Depends
Future
what our-
proof is a tough one.
Should it be affordable or should it be, because future proof is,
It comes up a lot
Yeah.
in discussion, like, are you wasting your money? There may be something better than this.
well, it always will, 20 years from now, it's.
I get what you're saying, though. Yeah, it comes up all the time. So it's kind of a dubious thing where people want to know what that means.
Oh, Mark, you answered that question. You didn't think anything would replace the fiber.
For a long time. Who knows? There may be something that we can't imagine, but all the internet satellite stuff that people have been so enamored with does not replace the reliability and the speed of fiber.
Right now, it's like we're just saying a plane takeoff for the very first time in history, and then in 40 years there's going to be nuclear power. So who the heck knows?
But we could take that, I mean, we could say affordable, except we don't know. I mean, how-
Yeah, I just changed it. An
Just take
affordable,
out-
high-speed internet.
Right.
Accessible.
Accessible to all
Yeah.
town residents.
Yep.
Instead of identifying the town. I mean, I was just thinking if you're doing the survey, just. replicate.
Oh, no, I'll customize it. I'll put the town seal
Well,
on there, the whole.
True, however,
The whole 9 yards. We'll make it look good.
there'll be the one time that one of the towns will use the wrong line.
Yep. Yep. Well, thankfully, once you publish this, you can still go in and change it at any time. So that's one of the little benefits you can. Yeah.
So are we giving Evan the go-ahead to get this thing in with changes we've made? You might want to circulate the final one and the one that we
Yep.
got.
In fact, so that was my last thing. Do we want to combine on this sheet 12 and 13 just into a general one comment question thing? So it's not just like, oh, is there any more? Whatever.
Yeah, you can do, I mean, you can do that.
Okay.
Makes it tighter.
Yeah, less is more.
But I like got the wording on 12 right now. Is there any more you'd like us to share? I think you mean true. Then
You would like to share, yes.
Yeah, that's it, that you'd like to share.
Do you
yes.
have any questions or comments? Any questions, comments? This is how I
Or
reword
would
it.
like.
Or would you like more information on the Wisconsin Broadway Committee's effort to make it affordable high speed internet? Speed hearing accessible to all. Wisconsin residents at your email phone number.
So you're looking at basically
Accessible and.
10 with an information. That's your suggestion.
Say it again, sorry.
Running 12 and 13.
Yeah.
Affordable,
If we
high-speed
roll
internet
11,
accessible to all.
then you merge 12 and 14, that's more of your
Wisconsin.
additional information.
It should probably also be, did you want to
I'm
say
just looking at-
residents
right
or
now,
10
premises?
questions and information instead of going on too long.
I think that's just what we did, so let me print off a few of these and we can throw these away and see how they look now.
Just one other thing that we may have a business respond to this, because we're going to send it to premises, not just to residents of town. So we might want to change it from to all, well, it would include Wiscasset residents. Those are the,
I think we
those are the voters.
I don't think we should have to worry about, yeah, exactly, keep it resident, so it's,
Because they're the ones voting on it, the business won't necessarily vote on
Unless they live in town.
it. unless they live in town.
What was that Mitt Romney thing about corporations and people too?
Don't you want the input of the individual- don't you want the input of the individual businesses? I mean, we
Oh,
can
yeah,
walk
yeah, oh, sure.
down the street.
But I mean, yes, we do, because they could influence, even if they're not voters, they
Right,
could
we want to know
influence
whether or
voters.
not they're satisfied with it.
Yeah, and definitely would be, I want to mail this to every premise, not mail, try to reach every premise in town. Through different means. And then we get into, you know, how much is this going to cost? We don't, our budget that we put in will not cover, what we have in there right now won't cover mailing to everybody in town. Nor do we think it's the most efficient way to do it, because if the return is not effective. So I might run it by Sarah too, because she's had a lot, or what's her title, select board chair, has a fair amount of experience with questionnaires, so I think I'll run it by her too. But otherwise, I think we just need to push it out, and this was part of our action.
Yeah, at least- got at least 20 other people I could email it to also.
Right.
I guess, hey, everybody monkey and go up, so, you know, our contacts, they're all just passing.
Yeah, we just have to get it out there.
right, here's the
Leads me to our last agenda item.
They're all wide.
all revised. And then ignore the very last thing, because that will only appear for people online where it says to go to the speed test. If someone's doing it on their computer or their phone.
And you're gonna write up the new introduction to and send out.
Yep.
Okay. So are we good on this, or do we want to move on to how we're gonna actually find people?
And if anything new comes up, then we can always go back and edit the online version at least.
Yeah.
At the very least.
And I think we said from the beginning, we're not doing a scientific study here, which we're using it as a tool for outreach and education more than anything. So,
Evan, can you send us all an email with the,
Yes.
the survey place on it? So if we know somebody that we'd like to have take the survey, we can just forward it to them, they can click on it.
Yep, that's definitely what we're doing. I'm gonna send a link to the this survey that I just made, so you can see how it looks online, but don't send that link yet. Once we get the full thing ready for each individual town, then I'll send you the link so you can paper it anywhere and everywhere. That's definitely,
Plus, we wanted the sheet for the introduction too.
Do you have a copy of that introduction?
I can make one if you don't.
Yeah, I mean, here, that's what I started.
When people use this, when they get to this question 12, and they click on that link,
Mhm.
what happens to the survey? They click on the link, it takes us to-
It opens a new window.
So then they're supposed to take whatever number they get, but bring it
Yeah.
back to this box.
And then even if they don't at that point, that was why I put it at the end. Even if they don't get that far, it's at least added into this map, which is just as helpful, just to see a visual map of each town and see where all these little red, yellow, and green dots are, and then online you can look at them. So even if they don't get back to this part, all of the questions had already been input anyway. But when I did it for Dan Scott, it was like 95, 96% of the people were able to do it. But yeah, I thought long and hard about that same situation, that it would be too much of a jump.
We have other questions, comments? Now the fun stuff, how are we gonna use it? Get it out there. I started to make a list. I was trying to find a list of organizations, particular organizations. I mean, we can find businesses in town. The chamber has this, that if we want to somehow, but the chamber is one of those organizations where we may be able to capture a lot of people at once if we can do presentations. I'm envisioning both, you know, one-to-one where you can grab people at events, but also setting up presentations and peppering the town, different groups. I started to make a list. We already had the senior center and the gun club down there that Larry suggested. Main Art Gallery, churches, garden club, potentially Sheepscot Valley Children's House, Morris Farm, Friends of Wiscasset. I think that's still there. Does anybody know if that's still their name? Friends of Wiscasset. Anyway, I'll find out. What were you saying? The American Legion, Marty? I don't think the Lions Club still exists.
No.
Are there other fraternal organizations or other?
Masons, I don't know if it's a Masons.
Most of their meetings are closed, but you might,
Yeah,
if
if they want to circulate it within there. Or
if you,
however far.
you might be able to talk them into, if you had somebody who's gonna give a presentation, a lot of times they have to be open for the meeting. You can have a presentation.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't be at the meeting. We could try the Wiscasset Charitable Organization. I mean, they should at least know about it and why it's important to the people that they serve. The library board. This was just off the top of my head. I couldn't find a list in town of various civic organizations. So I'm looking for adding to that list. And I assume you've got, well, you're smaller in terms of that, but it also sounds like you can contact everybody through the newspaper. I'm not sure we can.
It's direct mail, so if we know everybody gets it.
Yeah. How big is this?
1657.
Population, is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
I
See,
have-
the voice.
1665 is what Google will tell you.
Ah, see, close.
And what's this got?
4,000 something?
No, it's like
What is it?
38
Oh,
or
I thought the
37.
new census made it 4,000.
We wish.
All right.
What's Westport now? We're very cute.
9, I think it's 900 or something.
And when I graduated from high school, it was 100.
I have,
People that-
718.
I have, boards like this, about that big, and you can put a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper on there. And they're connected to 2x4s with pointy ends on them. And I also have a form made out of oak, so you can take a big hammer and knock the oak in first, then you can put the 2x4 with the thing on there. So if we had a piece of paper with just a few choice words, and we can put that in key places in the town, and that would get you some attention.
Yeah, that's all things to get, get people excited about.
Yeah, get a buzz.
And the businesses, while we have fewer, they're excited about the prospect. We were just saying, okay, we need the fire association, we need historical society, whatever it is, a Pelham Court.
Yeah.
We need to leverage the parent teacher.
Yeah, that's a good. What did you say, the fire society? Do we have that? Fire society?
Yeah, it's,
And how about EMS people and stuff, like different constituencies even within the town?
Well,
That would be-
Here, his situation might be a little more difficult than it used to be, because it's not an ambulance service anymore. It's all done for him.
they
So
don't-
everybody just
people
showed,
don't live in town necessarily.
no. a lot of them. The fire department, you might want to talk about that for his fire chief. He might like, oh, George, come to the meetings.
How about police? Because this stuff benefits the town in terms of their operations, better management and efficiency.
Like, couldn't do that.
So, but it's a question, I guess, different departments of the town. And we may discover things like managing the LED lights and things like that. And we have good systems all over town. Maybe some of it already exists. But some of it, I think, doesn't. Or the sewer district, you're saying that was on old technology, right? Did you say that, Evan? Yeah, better technology all around and being able to manage stuff. Any other suggestions? Who else is in town? Because Evan
I'm
was
sure
gonna
we're
do-
gonna find more as we,
Yeah, so did you have a chance to think, or I know you thought a little bit about it, but an outreach plan and schedule? This has to, yeah, the schools. Definitely.
Just to take it home.
yeah, and the parent teacher, or the,
Are we looking at some type of a date deadline on all?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to.
yep, let
figure out.
me print something off for everybody.
But it's like now is gearing up time. Unfortunately, we're getting into summer, but we better do it anyway.
Is there anything on the upcoming ballot that has anything to do with that?
And that's an advantage if you read the article. Leeds did a special town meeting on it. Hamden put it on the warrant. And that was probably part of the disadvantage of the vote. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, if you want to make the broadband meter useful, it's really come.
Yeah, well, it may come to the vote otherwise too, depending on what the town has to put into it. And that discussion hasn't happened yet, and we don't know the cost. So. But town will have to have skin. in the game. We're not gonna get this without town having skin. in the game.
All right, I'm printing off just a brief timeline that Marianne and I had put together for the grant application.
Yeah, and that's just the reality, this stuff costs money, and the state will put up some money, but if you looked at the recent grants, they put up maybe half, that was a good match. And some towns have been able to find private investors to help. But what your goal is to reduce the total cost of what this thing costs, put it into the town. But it has to be thought of as long-term investment. That's going to be necessary for going forward. And so the game is how much can you reduce the cost of what this is going to be.
Our advantage, we have, Dennis as our town manager, when he writes up the warrant.
What did you say?
I thought we have Dennis as the town manager, when he writes up a warrant, he explains what, so people get, don't go there and say, hey, we need $500 million, $5 million, or whatever. He'll explain what the advantages are by doing it. To lower your cost of your monthly payment, It'll be an income stream for the town. We'll list the benefits in that warrant article. So have some knowledge of what's going on.
We're not there yet because we don't have the numbers. And,
Right, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
We do have that.
so let's look at this timeline that Evan just put out. We can get this bid situation out quickly enough. Because I mean, we're already into beginning of May. You think that you think we'll have a feedback from the state quickly enough on the planning studies, the planning grants, that they all need to go forward with the whole package
We'll hear tomorrow, we'll hear
here
today,
tomorrow, today.
probably, or we won't for another month. So that'll be another issue.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to put a lot of work into surveying the town to get this done by the end of May.
Oh, survey by the end of May?
Isn't that what you've got?
No, this would just needs to start.
Oh, to start the survey.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna use the survey ongoing as education.
Well, another thing we're gonna have to do is to select whether we're gonna have two new select people on board.
Right.
2 out of 5, so we have to educate them.
We should also, there are some informational settings or meetings that are being set up. I don't think the town is, I don't know, Dusty, is the town setting up anything for select board candidates to be at a forum or anything? Not that we know of.
No,
I know that.
I don't think that pertains.
Okay, they don't.
Like, it makes
Even
it
if
like that,
Yeah.
you know.
They don't do it, okay. So, it behooves us also to go to any of those and ask the question, do you support broadband?
I think probably a good test would be as soon as the new selectmen are elected. Go to the selectmen
Yep.
meeting at the end of the meeting and let them ask you questions, because they're gonna ask you questions that you don't have in your head.
Yeah, I've also offered to the whole board before we got started doing this, that I workshop them anytime, so as we get closer, I'll reintroduce that as there's new people on. the board.
And maybe invite members of the planning board, the budget commission.
Whoever, yeah,
And have, but before we really saturate trying to talk people into doing things, find out what how to deal with the negatives before we get there.
one of the best things with that going on right now is what they're doing at Southport, because Southport, if you guys don't know, I think we talked about it last time, but wars happened. So they voted by warrant for the town to bond out $2.4 million. To build a whole municipal system. They spent $600,000 to buy all the fiber materials to start laying stuff out. And then as the timeline shakes out, they were gonna get their pole licensing so then they can hook everything up to the poles. In that period of time, they've had over 130 people sign up and pay $99 to pre-sign up for the package, which still won't be available for a year. And in all that time, another group sent out a petition throughout the town to try and reverse the vote after they'd already bonded out 2.4 million and spent 600,000 of it. So I went to the last informational meeting where a lot of people voiced their concerns and there was a lot to glean from it. But since then, the state awarded them $400,000 toward the project and they're hoping to get 200,000 from the county. So that's kind of all the moving pieces. That could be a very similar thing that happens to us if we go through and end up having a municipal owned system. Is that getting connected Maine or what's going to be the connectivity authority grant money, and then the county also asking them for whatever the plan is for asking the county for broadband money to defer some of the bonding costs. So if you want, definitely, I'll be going to the next Southport info meeting on May 18th at like 6 o'clock. And we'll be talking.
That would be really interesting.
It's just like seeing this project a year in the future.
The other thing that Wiscasset has, and we've talked about it, is the sinking fund that sits there. I'm sure it has multiple people that would like to tap it, but
Yeah, you
somehow.
want to light a fire, you want to try to get some of that money.
Somebody who's much wiser than I am about town politics, that's for sure.
No, I mean, that's, because when that's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, there are some investments there that have kind of kept it alive. But if too much was taken away from
Well, we'd have
And that's
to,
the-
it would take.
it, it would have already, it would be the sunk fund.
And that's the beauty of this thing, is that eventually we'll re-put money
Right.
back in rather than a footbridge, which will never turn a dollar of anything. So that's why this is a beautiful thing for that, because it's another investment piece. It's the only investment piece, actually.
Now, what it's good for, it's good to get a loan against it and have a bond.
Right.
To have that money available, you don't take it
Well, it
out.
guarantees the loan, that's
Yeah,
what
it
it does.
guarantees the loan.
And if you're in Dresden, never save money. It's the worst thing you could ever do for yourself. More
Yes.
money, more problems. You
Yes.
never save money.
So, but anyway, you wouldn't take the whole thing, but you might want to defer some of the costs.
Yeah, it makes the case stronger, however it's done.
After the stock market.
What are the biggest negatives?
For people in town.
Pretty much that, oh, this is already coming, we don't have to buy it. It's gonna be the big thing. And the things that you say, okay, if it is coming, when is it coming? And they won't be able to answer that, because there's a lot of people that will come from the cable companies and literature that says, we're doing this, we're coming, and it's not true. And then the other thing is that this project will
And if
be,
they do, and they control it,
yeah,
Well, that's it. They could, we've already seen the price
right. And you
rises
don't have,
all the time.
right, you're not gonna be forced to take this service, and the argument is that doing this, the town will be able to keep it affordable for a long time. Or
has anybody
The other-
brought up the
the
fact that 5 years dangerous?
No.
Do you know it can kill you?
No.
Okay.
no
People
electricity.
who work on it, fiber is so small that if you're not wearing the right protective equipment, a piece can break off, get into your blood system, kill you. Somebody's gonna come up with that sooner or later.
Oh, well,
But that,
I'd say, cool, don't touch it, you're not supposed to be working on it, you should know better.
well,
You know,
you
that type of
can
thing.
unhook the
Sure.
cable
No,
off
it's
the back.
never
of your
safe to
TV.
touch a line ever,
Yeah.
and you shove it down their throat.
But you could disconnect your box at home, your TV, without.
There will be, no, because it will be, once the fiber from the line comes down, it'll go to an optical network.
It'll be a connecting box.
Right, so then it will be something different once it gets into your house.
Whoever, they gotta know that they can't touch that box.
That's a good
A
point.
technician,
That's a really.
Yeah,
a technician has to be doing that
this
work.
is why they put the
You-
disclaimers on the
this is-
serial
this is
boxes.
not
Don't need to-
This is not do it yourself.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yep,
But the other reason that Spectrum, or some of the word that is used in the industry is incumbents, some of those may come in and cherry pick downtown, because what they want is density. This is the reason they haven't done it. We're not dense enough for them to do it. They can't make money off of it. So even if they come in, they're gonna want subsidies. Somebody's gonna have to put up a subsidy, whether it's to an incumbent, to a local provider like LCI, or a municipally owned system. Someplace the subsidy has to be there, because we're not dense enough.
and that's the nice thing, is Consolidated's rolling out in Portland and every other big city right now, and they have all these ads saying, we plan to have 150,000 people connected to this fiber network by the end of the year. Well, it's just like, it's only in the densest part of all the downtowns of the top 20, 25 cities.
So it is not gonna serve the interests of
And
the
it
whole
won't,
town.
yeah, by the time it gets here, who knows?
Evan, what is the typical last mile connection from the fiber optic cable to the house?
Price wise,
No, we have, price wise, it's like $200, $700.
the last mile, usually when you have like a long driveway or whatever your system is.
Yeah.
All of these projects usually connect everybody within 250 to 500 feet is usually the thing for free. And then usually after the 250 or 500, whatever the company that's doing it is, after that, they do $1 per foot fiber aerial over the line. And if you have conduit, $2 a foot seems to be the going rate in the last 9 months.
And what is the technology? I mean, you got the fiber optic cable coming in, and do you then switch over to copper?
No, so it goes in your house and becomes an optical network terminal. And then from there, they can set up, different fiber companies are doing different things. So they'll have either some type of modem and router combo situation or modem and router. And it's a good question, because I don't know when Ethernet becomes part of that. Because what's going to happen is when people hook up things wirelessly, if you have, even this computer's 4.5 years old, you're not gonna be able to get 100 download on this, just like with any old tablets
How are you gonna get TV into my house?
streaming.
You lost.
Huh?
I said you lost.
Oh, I know.
Majority of people streaming, what's that?
You want to explain it?
And that's the
Don't I need a
learning,
smartphone?
and that's the learning
But
curve.
you have much better streaming if you have reliable fiber. Don't you need this?
Tell that to an 87-year-old woman.
And we might, yeah, and we
I've been
might
watching the Golden Girls without
not- it's,
any.
it's probably not.
She got to
willing
spend an extra $99 for this.
Well,
new product.
in the long run, it'll save you money, because the cable packages right now, if you have just an internet thing and then you stream your cable, then you save like 10, 15, 20 bucks a month. But to somebody that's like that's already in the system, you might give them a heart attack if you try and change
It's
all that
like me,
stuff.
I'm
So
having trouble making the
Yeah.
change.
that, there's some points where it's just like, to a person like that, it's just like, is there really any point in trying to learn
Well,
something new?
but
Not
But the
necessarily.
streaming thing is starting to get out of, you've seen the local thing that you can stream now? You can get WMTW streaming local, so you just get,
I can do it right here on this laptop right in the middle of this meeting, right now.
well, I have streaming on my big screen TV and I can hardly ever bring any of that stuff or even around.
Yep, and that's something that Susan's group, the Equity Center, has classes on to show people what their options are.
So you are or not using streaming? You are using.
I have Netflix.
Yeah.
And Prime. But if you went out and bought all the other things that were streaming, collectively, it would be twice the amount of what I'm paying for cable. So-
Yeah, if you pay for all those things, but like just the cable package streaming.
Well,
like,
all I'm thinking about is the local citizens gonna go, well, you're gonna pull a plug on Spectrum, what am I gonna do?
Yeah, well, that won't happen. That option, those, if they want to have cable, they can have cable.
Not everybody's gonna sign up for this.
It's kind of like when everybody first got a washing machine, and some people just never got one. Yeah. Some people you're not gonna convert.
I mean, Mark Willett says, I think his number for Wiscasset was what, meaning it was higher than what Southport was. It's called the take rate. You have to have a particular, you have to meet a particular target for this thing to work.
Well, it's usually
Was
about
it
50,
40?
it's like 50% ideally.
Yeah, some of the other towns can do it at less.
Yeah, I have PVC pipe, about 2-inch underground, probably about 1,200 feet long. And will I be able to just run the fiber optic in that?
You won't, they will,
No, he can't.
As long as it's got.
you can't run fiber anywhere,
Sure can.
you can hire somebody to do it.
They did it in, everybody, they did it in Bremen, the committee members helped people do it.
Because
So it is possible.
when I talked to, who's the people that do the Spectrum,
Yeah.
they wanted me to pay $10,000.
Yep, sounds about right.
But I thought that was crazy, because they were gonna run coax up there.
Yep.
And I'm thinking to myself, why don't they just give me a coax to fiber transition? And then it becomes much cheaper.
They're making money.
Well, they know that you're not gonna be able to get it any other way, so they can charge any number they want.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you were saying about 500 feet.
Yep.
Well, Spectrum in particular was one that you're at 580 feet.
Yep.
You're not paying for the 80 feet.
You're paying for the whole damn thing.
580 feet.
Yeah.
So even though it's 3 to 500.
Yep.
They then charge you for the 500.
And that's where all these cable companies come in, is once the full contract and everything is negotiated, that number is a moving target for everybody. But I know in the LCI area, they were originally $250 for free, and then over that, they had a number, and I think they were upping it to the 500 for free. But yeah, it becomes a big issue because you realize, oh, all of a sudden, everybody's got a 600-foot driveway. that's difficult to get to. So it becomes a thing, for sure. And places that, just another one to throw out there. I talked to a bunch of people in Damascotta who lived in a subdivision, and the guy that built the subdivision was so stinking cheap that he never put in any conduit for anything. Well, there's, the whole thing is tarred, so now you're gonna chop up people's driveways, or you're gonna have to get a horizontal system to do the whole thing or whatever, and it was just so poorly thought out, so all these people have nothing. And the guy at the very end was like, well, they could bury that anytime. I'm like, it's not really what anybody's doing anymore. It's not 1995. It's going in conduit or you're not getting it. Tough. You decided to move a mile down a dirt road and now you wanted everything. So, same people.
So this is the downside of outside ownership. Truthfully, whether it's the incumbent or whether it's another provider, depending on what the provider's reputation is. We're not there yet. Well, we do have to take this. I mean, this sounds good, but then what are we gonna do with the particular context? I mean, we've got three of us here. Dusty, I don't know if you wanna, who's our liaison, if you actively wanna market this thing and participate in selling it. Hopefully Richard will be active on particularly on the library and stuff like that, but I think we have to start setting up a schedule to talk to people. And how are we gonna do that?
I feel more comfortable. We'll definitely probably do it in pieces, but try not to do too many repeats. So my idea is wait until we have the feasibility study before we do any grand presentations. Like do a bunch of you can do smaller info meetings, get people into the idea, answer a few quick questions, but then when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, we're going to need to have a feasibility study to answer money questions, X, Y, Z.
So we can contact these people to get the survey out anywhere.
Yep.
And start with a soft sell on the survey and information and what we're doing. And then, because we can't go talk to your group until we have.
Well, I wait to the
What
end for
costs?
them because they're not gonna have any questions for you. They're gonna be blank. Matter of fact, if you could get to the fire department, they're the youngest bunch of guys and they're probably the most tech savvy.
Interesting. Okay. So do a dry run on the fire department. Interesting.
You have a more complete chronology.
But I can make one. As we get
Well,
going.
we were just thinking, because the town vote is June 14th, do a
Yep.
table.
Yep.
And have a display of, here's where we've been, here's where we are, and here's where we're going.
Gotcha.
And this is some of the stuff for the present context, so. I was just wondering if you had something that said, back. in
Well, hopefully,
2017, 18.
yeah, hopefully we'll know, that's all contingent upon this state grant, these state grants getting approved, right? If we know this week or whatever, then we can move forward with the digital equity thing next week, and that will give people just an idea of families and incomes and that type of thing, and who's in the town, and just another tool. But we probably won't have the feasibility study by June 14th, no
Yeah.
matter how we do it, so,
Well,
but yeah.
it was just a
That's
visual
something
saying,
that's down.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely, yeah, we'll come up with a better timeline to show people.
What's our best understanding, because what we're really going for are the grant applications, having the information we need for the grant applications. And what is our best knowledge of when that's.
Supposedly there's one coming this fall, I don't dream of this being ready by then, but then next spring, so it's probably just a little under a year.
Next spring, next spring, I would say it's probably.
Yeah,
when we're gonna
because
do
I think
that.
they're kind of doing them on like a 6 to 8 months.
And what kind of dollar figures are we looking at for these, that grant?
I will print you off, since you
What
guys
they just
all,
got,
yeah.
What they
Exactly,
just
I think I
distributed.
forwarded that. But I'll print
The
out.
ones you had listed were about 50% of what it would cost the town.
Wow. But, it's still substantial work. the town has to put out, or guarantee. I don't know, some of the smaller towns that got federal money, they may have gotten a bigger percentage, like Somerville won a federal grant. I can't remember what percentage.
They got 90, that was the 90%.
90%,
Yeah.
but they also have nothing.
That's, yeah,
I mean, they just have said, I think they have DSL, they don't even have cable up there. So they score better on that kind of competitive process. We will not score on something like that. I mean, it's the irony that we're.
That's why you want
We will.
us.
Because, yeah, you're gonna score better, it's true. But even Dresden compared to towns that had absolutely
Oh,
nothing.
yeah.
um,
37% not covered with it.
um, So, but my other feeling is that not all towns can get it together, have the capacity to get it together, so even if we're
But that's okay.
not as
We don't want-
desirable, it's like if we're ready and they have to get that money out, then maybe we become more desirable.
So I emailed you guys this just last week. This grant application window ended on March 20th, and then they got it out last week, so it was about a month turnover.
And they had to do a lot of work with the towns, particularly around their network, from what we understand.
So in particular, Southport, they bonded out that $2.4 million already. The state gave them $400,000 to contribute to that full total cost of the 2.4. And then they're hoping to get more county money. I don't know much about Searsport nor Northport, but as you can see, Northport got 2.1 out of $2.9 million cost. So it becomes a matter of if a town's willing to put up, like, if you can bond out 30 to 50%, all of a sudden it's gonna be a lot easier to get funding for this.
This Buckfield, Hartford, Hebron, something, that's a joint effort. It looks like they did better.
And I don't know how, yeah, and I don't know how they've really organized it, because GWI, I suspect, will privately own the whole thing. So they may have gone to GWI and said, I don't know, I'll have to learn more about exactly how that one came
But
about.
if it was,
But something that's
Who
more
is GWI?
they're a
Great
local
Works
internet provider.
Internet
Great Works Internet.
out of Biddeford.
So GWI is coming.
They're going where there's subsidy money.
They also have private investors. GWI is able to get social investors, but they've been mostly successful on that when they go to the opportunity zones, which are the Trump zones that were designated for favorable with taxes. I forgot exactly what the subsidy is for the opportunity zones. So Katahdin was
Millinocket.
thank you, Millinocket, our Katahdin. They got in, GWI worked with them and they brought private investors in there that could benefit from the grants.
So out of this list, the one that's most similar to our situation is Leeds. That's something that Axiom put together. They're gonna have a municipal owned system, and they got 2.1 million out of their total 4.1 million cost to run it. And then I believe they also got county money on top of that. I can't remember exactly how much, but
So there's no federal money anymore?
the federal
the
money
federal money
basically
comes to the
has
state.
been funneled into the state.
Okay.
So there's all kinds of weird federal programs, like what she was talking about with Somerville, but it's like, they all take like 2 to 3 years. You're competing with hundreds of other places, and it's a shot in the
And
dark.
the story that we have isn't compelling enough because we're not as desperate. So,
So assuming that we have Axiom do the plan,
Mhm.
will they come up with a plan individually for each town?
That's what
Yes.
Mark said he wanted to do.
And
Yeah.
as a group?
He's got a terrible track record based on this grant.
Yeah.
Based on the state. He's 50% or lower
oh,
on every one of them. So if that's what she and I were talking about, as well, GWI seems to really understand the game. Again,
but,
this is just on the surface, you don't know the
yeah,
details.
but
You
the
know,
other
But
part
only
is that
Axiom,
they-
and they get pounded. Because it's 80% borne by the town, it's 50% borne by the.
I would have to venture with that one, it's
I know.
Buckfield, yeah, Buckfield.
It's just, I'm like.
But they also, you get
We should be right
advantage,
up
you
there.
get advantage in the money, the more towns that come together, you get both a priority for the funding and probably you get more money. Southport, I can see why they didn't give them a lot of money.
And that's the
It's-
one, that's the one thing I forgot. They only give you as much money as you ask for. So if you get, exactly, so there may have been a case for Southport that they may have gotten more if they asked for it, but they're not gonna, you either get what you ask for or you don't get it at all.
But it's
Based
also
on
the
this
case
warrant.
that
And one of the things with Dresden, I know, they were indebtedness adverse. We don't want to owe anything to Microsoft, like, so we don't want to take any gifts from them. I'm like, what are you kidding me? You think they really are gonna look to Dresden for anything? The reality is, it's a gift.
Yeah.
Take it. But that seems to have worked its way out.
But I mean, Southport, you know, the demographics, the wealth of that town, they probably were not in line for as big a subsidy either. So,
Shall we adjourn and then we can shoot the breeze at our pleasure?
yeah.
We're ready to adjourn at 3:59 PM.